Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Elandine Codes. You're watching my series, A Conversation With, and I am just so happy to have my dear friend, Sophie, on with me and just having a fun conversation. Sophie has been such an inspiration to me on my journey to learning how to code, and she will always have a special place in my heart. She was my
Oh,
very first friend that I found on Twitter. And we've just been like 2 years since, back in 2020, 2 years since. We are still friends to this day, even though we are on different sides of the globe. I'm so happy to have you on today. And yeah, would you like to introduce yourself, Sophie?
yeah, sure. I feel so flattered. Yeah. So yeah, thanks. Yeah. So I'm Sophie. I'm Nigerian and I live in Nigeria. And what else? I write C sharp mostly for backend development. Even though I've been playing around with other languages recently, like Golang and C. But anyway, we'll get to all of that later. But yeah, that's really about me. I don't know
Yeah.
what else to say.
I know, like it's sometimes it's so tough, like when you feel like the spotlight is on you, and you're like, oh yeah, tell me who you are, what do you do, and you're just trying to sit there and remember who you are, and it's like, okay, who am I again?
I totally
Yeah,
agree. Like you don't know
yeah,
what am I supposed to say? What am I not supposed to say?
yeah. Okay, let's start. So, Sophie, tell me, how long have you been coding? When did you start learning how to code?
Yeah. So very long story. I I studied human anatomy in university. Uh, even though initially what I wanted to study was medicine and surgery, but then for some reason I was admitted to study anatomy. So my plan was, oh, I would do anatomy and then study medicine later.
Yeah.
But before I gained and before I even decided what I wanted to study, I always liked computers and all. I'm well, more of I just knew how to do things with computers.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is. I think at that time I thought the only thing about computers was like Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel. So yeah, so I think it's just I didn't have like a very complete idea of what it was. So I just thought, why would I need to study computer science in school when I already know what a computer is?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so and then also I got bit by the Bencasin bug, so I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. So I'm like, okay, I'm just
Oh
going to be a
wow.
neurosurgeon who really knows how to do a lot of things with computers.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got into university, and I met a friend who was studying dentistry, but was a software developer. I
Yeah.
was so surprised because I hadn't actually thought that it was possible. So when I found out, I was so excited, and I somehow just I didn't know what to even start from. I knew that I had some interest in technology somehow, but I didn't know exactly what to do. So I met this person, and then during the break, he sent me a link to some like a boot camp, well, like a training, Ola Foundation, a training for teenagers. So of course, I chose the programming web design track. I think that was what it was called. So during that training, so this was like, I don't know, 2015 or 2016. I'm not sure again. So I learned about Bootstrap and um, PHP and HTML and CSS. So it was all very exciting. So at the end of the program, I did a project on, I built a website on halitosis. So it's so exciting. I mean, I just didn't know what to write to build. So I just did something on halitosis. Because I also had another friend who was a dentist. So I went, oh, okay, maybe I could just do something like that. So I
Yeah.
did that, and so I go back to school, and I was so excited about technology. I got involved in the the tech space in university. Got into a lot of community um, management kind of things. I joined the Google developer group. And then and then also I volunteered a lot. Started volunteering
That yes.
also. Yeah, the developer student club and girl, so many things. But then I hadn't really started programming per se. I mean, I understood what WordPress was. I was able to build a couple of things with WordPress and some other things, but I mean, I hadn't really started per se. So it was until I finished university, I decided to start the EDX CS50 course, and
Okay.
I started it. And but then I knew, okay, you could even bring the biomedicine and technology. So I'm like, oh, biotech, I could do that. So I'm like, if I want to
Yeah.
do biotech, something that would be fun to do would be robotics or something. It's just me thinking.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I want to do robotics, I want to understand first of all, like the computer science itself. So that was why I started the EDX course, and then I started with the top after the scratch class. I had to do the C, introduction to C, and then I mean by then I was done with school, and then I saw a training on a training that included C sharp, like an online training. So I
Mhm.
was like, oh, maybe if I join this training, it will help me understand C because I thought C and C sharp were similar.
The same. Okay, and
Yeah,
I was gonna ask you that, like, if you noticed, like, how big of a difference there was between C and
very,
C sharp,
very
because
big a difference. Very big a difference. 'Cause so I got in and then, well, I didn't really understand C when I was doing it in the CS50 course. So, but then I'm
yeah,
like, okay, maybe if I do it with other people, it would help me. So then I started doing C sharp and it was entirely different. I'm like, okay, let me just do it. And then we started ASP.NET. So the start.ng, I think they're now called Zuri. So, but the person who taught us was so good. Well, because now when I hear people say C sharp is difficult, I usually can't relate because this person taught us very well. Vincent, I think he's at Microsoft now, so he taught us really well,
dang.
and yeah,
That's
so yeah,
awesome.
exactly. So it was amazing. So I finished with the C sharp course, and well, that's how my whole career started.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing. So it almost sounds like, and let me know if I'm wrong, and it almost sounds like you kind of just stumbled into C sharp, like you started learning C sharp by accident.
Hmm.
So, like, what made you stay in C sharp? Like, what made you choose C sharp over the other languages? I do know you said that you were kind of dabbling in different languages. What keeps you here as a
Yeah.
C sharp backend developer?
Yeah, a very interesting question. So now you're actually correct that I stumbled into C sharp. So I didn't really decide to do C sharp because oh maybe it's fast or whatever or .NET
Yeah.
because it's fast. I chose it because I wanted to do robotics and I wanted to understand computer science, and at the time I was doing a C course that I wasn't understanding. So I thought maybe if I do the course with other people, like do a C course in quotes with other people, I would understand. But then I saw C sharp. I'm like, okay, this is close enough. Let me just do this. So now I think what has made me stay is number one, my fundamental knowledge is a bit solid, and I think it's one of the only languages that I feel confident in
Hmm.
as compared to other languages because I learnt it well. I mean, of course, I still have a lot of things to learn, like self learn, but I can do things with it because of because of that fundamental knowledge that I was able to get. Not really because of any other thing, really. So, but then finding the community wasn't difficult for me because also this person also put us the tutor put us in like a group chat with other C sharp developers, and of course I did my own research and tried to find out how the community was. And of course, very exciting. I found out about Scott Hanselman, oh, and then other amazing people.
He is
Yeah, so other,
awesome.
yeah, he's actually yeah, and then Layla Porter, I think that's her name. She's also
She's
doing
brilliant.
amazing,
I love
yeah,
Layla.
amazing
She's
work.
brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so I guess why I'm here is because it's one language that I don't have to go back and start learning any other language from scratch. So I mean, even though
Yeah.
I've actually had to do that with Golang and C, for example, and I know that in the course of my career, I would have to do that. But I feel like for now, I can grow my backend development um, career with C sharp first of all, and then hopefully later do other languages depending on what happens. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay. So my question is, how did you know that you like doing backend? Like what motivates you? Like what is it in your mind that makes you like backend? And I ask
Yeah.
because, I like hearing other people's opinions about this. I like back end, but I also like kind of designing on the front end and making things pretty and stuff. Like with Blazor, which I'm so happy we have Blazor because, we now have a way where we can make web apps with C sharp. So,
Mhm.
what is it that you like about coding back end?
Yeah. So, well, I guess it's different things. One thing is that I remember in the beginning what I planned to do was to understand computer science, especially since I didn't study computer science. So I'm like, oh, I need to understand how a computer works, not just like how to use a computer, but
Mhm.
understand like the software and the hardware of a computer, so that if I am going into the field, if eventually I end up being going into biotech, I'm going in as a as a technology technical person.
Yes.
It
Yeah, of course.
computer sciences, yeah. So but then so I want to understand it. I mean, of course I want to understand everything, but I just want to understand. So now I feel like with front end, I'm staying in the browser, which isn't bad because
Hmm.
now everybody needs a browser. You need a browser to access the internet. So of course
Yeah.
many people need to be working in the front end, but I personally don't plan to stay in the browser for a long time, even though I'm backend still involved web, is still part of web development, but I'm trying to lean more towards back end and then infrastructure and all those kind of things and system
Mhm.
design and all of that. Even though I'm like in a scale of 1 to 10, I'm probably like 0.5. but
No. Give yourself
but
more
that's
credit than that. You're
yeah,
a
but I
genius.
mean, yeah, so but I mean that's really why I have stayed here. And then well, I tried front end probably because of lack of interest. I wasn't really able to do very well in it. I tried with I
Mhm.
mean I still do some WordPress things here and
Yeah.
there. Yeah, but yeah, I'm still mostly backend. I'm still trying to be backend, yeah.
No, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense because I will say like that is kind of what got me like hooked. With even coding in general is just like, okay, how does this work? Okay, this is a
Yeah.
situation. How can we make this happen? And if we do this, then this happens. So
Mhm.
like that makes perfect sense. And I love that you said that you mentioned that you like understanding how the hardware works, how the computer works. And it just kind of brings me back to the time when we first met and we first started forming our friendship. And we had created, our own little book study where
Mhm.
me and you, we would meet for like every 2 weeks. We read the Where Wizards Stay Up Late, The Origins of the Internet.
Yeah.
And it's like even before, like as I was starting to learn how to code and getting to know who you are, we were learning about computers in general. And this also kind of makes me wonder, like, what is your opinion? Do you feel like in order to learn how to code, is it better to have an understanding of computers entirely? Or like, I know you took a computer science class. Do you feel like that helped you in your journey to learning how to code?
Yeah. So before I answer the question, I just need to plug my phone.
Yeah, no, 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 no worries. I kind of had like my dog barking in the background. He likes to bark at our neighbors. He's kind of rude.
No problem. Okay, so
The
yeah,
crazy
I'm fine.
pug.
Yeah, so okay, so yeah, I think it's very interesting and lovely to remember how we first met and I mean the whole process. and reading the book, Where Wizards Stay Up Late. And it was actually my tutor from that training that suggested that book. And I mean, I found it, of course, it was very interesting. I think also the book study helped a lot, because when I go back to my notes, I'm like, I wouldn't have been able to do this myself. So yeah, the question of what I think is the best way. So now this computer science course I started taking, the EDXCS 50. I mean, I'm still in the process of finishing it. I haven't finished it yet, but um, I don't think you necessarily need to understand how a computer works first of all before you. I mean, start trying to learn how to code or how to build web applications. The reason why I say so is because when you build something and you see the results, I think it motivates you to want to do more. um I think it's still important to understand the fundamentals, uh but I think that it's still good if, as personally, you start by just trying things out, and then as you go, you then like try to fill up the gap in your learning process. However, for those people who have like a computer science degree or want to take a computer science degree first, I don't think it's bad either. I think it's good, but personally, I think I would not have even wanted to start exploring C sharp or even computer science if I hadn't been first of all exposed to Bootstrap in the beginning. So I'm not a Bootstrap expert, but I mean, being able to build a website sort of made me more curious to go deeper. So I think people who are exposed to computer to programming, or even if it's hardware, if people who, for example, have built something during their free time, maybe before when they were younger, I feel like they tend to enjoy studying computer science if they decide to go back to school, or if they decide to go to a boot camp. Like, it makes more sense because they see things now begin to click. They're like, oh, this
Click.
thing I was
Yeah.
trying to do, oh, that's why it didn't make sense. Oh, that's why this thing would have been better. Oh, that kind of thing. So that's my own personal opinion. So either way works, but I think it would be good if you are exposed first of all, and
Mhm.
then out of curiosity. I mean, because you're exposed, you're more curious, and then you now begin to fill in the knowledge gaps as you go.
That is a perfect explanation. And as I listen to you, how you describe it, I can't help but agree. I feel like when it comes to tech and when it comes to coding, it's like you kind of have to throw yourself into it and
Yeah.
then kind of work backwards a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's it's such an expansive, there's just
Mm-hmm.
so much going into it that I think if we try to learn it all
Mm-hmm.
within one sitting, like you said, there will be no motivation. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's us seeing how something, I guess, like the end product
Mm-hmm.
that keeps us motivated. And like I
Exactly.
completely agree because that's how it was for me when I was learning C sharp, and that's what drove me to start trying to like understand Blazor and building a web app, because I feel like, I'm doing all of these exercises. I don't know what's the goal. Like I think it helps for all of us, like whoever's learning, to understand the goal and then maybe
Mm-hmm.
work backwards. So that is like
Yeah.
a perfect explanation.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, I think so too. So yeah, so actually seeing the goal, and if I think even works for forming habits, like you have or even for having like a plan. So you know that, oh, this is what I want to. This is a picture of what I want to achieve, and then you now think of how to now walk towards it. But if you don't know where you're going to, I don't know, you'll just get tired because you don't have a destination in mind.
I feel like this is a bigger conversation about life. Okay, I
Mhm.
feel like we're touching on something. You let
Yeah.
me know how you're feeling, Sophie. We can talk about it if you want to talk about it.
Sure.
With the way that you describe it, it almost sounds like just like a life thing in general.
Mhm.
Like in order to stay motivated, we have to have the vision in mind. And like,
Exactly.
that's on any journey. That's
Mhm.
on like journey to learn how to code, any type of goal is like knowing the vision first and then kind
Yeah,
of working backwards. That so
exactly.
what do you think about that?
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. So I just also remember that I recently saw a video of now I don't remember her name. I think she works at the IMF or so. Anyway, someone put it up, and then this lady was talking about how, because someone's asking how did she plan her career to get to this extent, and then she was like, well, sometimes you don't have to plan too much. So I think that's another extreme, that something else that could happen because of, oh, I need to see the vision, and then the vision is not coming. And then you're like, oh no, I can't do anything because there's no vision. But I guess sometimes, even if the vision is very bleak, like it's not very clear, it's
Yeah.
just keep moving and just keep doing, because she was talking about how sometimes you don't have to like plan your career to the very last detail. Just,
Yes.
you know that, oh, okay, at least I know this is what I would like. I have an idea of what I would like, so I will just keep moving forward, and then as you move forward, your vision gets clearer, and
Hmm.
then also it helps you with forming your own self. Like, you begin to understand yourself, the kind of person you are, and your values, your personal values, and then you begin to align your vision towards that.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
imagine if you have a vision from when you were like 10 years old, and then you're 25 now, and you see life from a very different perspective, and you're still trying to hold on to that vision. Like, no. So yeah, so I guess it's also to be flexible, but also have
Flex.
a rough idea of what you want. Yeah.
So not hold too tightly, but still like have an understanding. Like
Hmm.
this is
Hmm.
an idea of how I want my life to be.
Hmm.
I won't hold too tightly to it, but
Hmm.
I still know that I'm moving in that direction. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Exactly that. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I feel like this is hidden. This is personal.
Yeah,
But I
I
think
think
it's
so.
personal for all of us. It's personal
Mhm.
for all of us. Like we all have like desires and a vision. Um,
Mhm.
do you? My question is for you, Sophie. Do you
Mhm.
feel like your vision has changed at all from the time you started learning how to code to this point in time now?
Yes, like I think, in fact, I think my vision changes every day.
Oh,
Well, not drastically, but like more of like my the path I'm taking to the vision is what changes. So I have this mentor, Dylan, very amazing guy, and
hmm.
we usually have conversations. And sometimes today I would come, and then I would talk about my what I've done with C sharp, and then tomorrow I come and then talk about excessive exercises, and then the next day I come and talk about C. And then sometimes I'm like, I hope he's not going to kick me out or something.
That is
But
it,
that's kind of,
Sophie.
but
I've had it.
but I mean, of course, he hasn't kicked me out. In fact, he has even encouraged me and all. But I think from the conversation that I've been having with Dylan and all of that, one thing I've realized is, well, I I, I think for everybody also, this thing of accepting who you are and how you are right now before you can now decide to change it. So I know that, for example, now C sharp is what I like, even though I can get pretty distracted pretty fast. But this is what I want to do now. I'm trying to be a backend engineer. This is what I want to do. So I keep on working towards it. So even if tomorrow I wake up and start playing around with, I don't know, Golang, at the end of the day, I still remember. I still try to go back and remember. Okay, this is what I'm trying to do. So my playing around Golang is not like deterring me from my progress in C sharp, even though it would
Mhm.
delay it because I would have spent the time doing another thing. So, but then, I mean, just that whole thing of balancing that, I shouldn't be too hard on myself. I want to understand this thing. I want to do this other thing, but just also be a bit calm and just move.
Mhm. Yeah.
But then also at the same time, not becoming lax and saying, "Oh, this is how I am. I'll do whatever." Still trying to work on myself and trying to say, "Oh, okay, so this is what happens when this happens. Okay, I better see how I can organize myself better." Yeah. So yeah. So I guess that's it. I think I've trailed away from the question, but yeah,
No, no, I feel like you are touching on a really good point, and what the way that you're describing this, I can't help but feel like this is a part of the journey, like those days where you don't feel as focused, like you have the desire. It's right there. It's a part of your vision. And you know in your entire self, like, this is what I want to do. But
yeah,
there are days where you don't feel as focused and you kind of trail off a little bit. And it's perfectly okay, because I what it sounds like you are having fun.
yeah.
I
Exactly.
think
Exactly.
I think that's what that is. And I think that for us to get to where we want to be, we have to allow ourselves to have fun, because that's how we learn, and that's how we get new ideas, and that's how we can be creative, and that's how we can form our own lane, and be our own person. So that's what it sounds like you're doing.
Yeah.
And like I'm saying this because I am like you, like where I I know what I want to do, but then I get a new idea and I'm like, okay, can I incorporate that into it? Like, so I think that's what you're doing. It's like,
Yeah.
obviously you're an amazing C# backend developer, and there are days where you just want to have fun and
Yeah.
explore. I think
Yeah.
that's all of us. It makes sense.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess even as time progresses, I because also the idea of where I want to go is a bit vague, and I mean,
Mm.
another thing also is that no, I mean, I think it's a dark humor, but actually nobody is assured of tomorrow. Like, sorry, but nobody. I know that nobody would
Whoa.
actually achieve. Sorry. Well, I don't know if I'll be able to achieve like at the end of my life, but still, I know that okay, this is what I would like to do. I have an idea of what I want to do at the end, but how I get there tends to change every
Hmm.
single day. So
Hmm.
now it's C sharp, but I know tomorrow something may change. And then also, I mean, life is not just about coding. Sometimes other things may influence why things change, why I decide to go this other path. So and I don't think it's a waste. Yeah.
No, that makes perfect sense, because that is what I'm learning. I feel like, and you and I, we've talked about this before, like with when you're starting to learn how to code, like you have all of these different things, like you'll see on Twitter that will make you feel like, okay, I have to do this in order to feel validated as a developer, in order to feel like I'm doing the right thing. Like, for example, 100 days of code, like I have to code every
Yeah.
single day, no matter what is happening in life, and report to, the internet what I'm doing. So here I'm doing something. Can I be labeled a developer now? Am I on the right path now? Like, I feel like that's a good point. I feel like the longer I am in this, and I'm sure like you feel this way as well, is that, you know, coding, it's not life. Like, it is something that makes our lives easier. Um, and it's about learning this skill, but it doesn't have to take over our entire identity. So, like,
Exactly.
how do you feel about that?
Yeah. So let me first of all talk about, if you don't mind, the 100 days of code thing. I remember in university. First of all, I tried doing the 100 days of code many times. Sometimes I would just bring up my laptop. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start 100 days of code now, and I'm going to do it. Of course, the next day, I have
You're like, hold up,
an assignment.
hold up.
So yeah, but then recently uh the need came up again, and I'm like, I need to, because I was doing a job. Well, it was an IT support role, so of course there was little coding, so I needed to like stay on top of my coding skill.
Of
So
course.
and then I mean, I also needed to really understand what I was spending my coding time in quotes doing. So I spoke with my mentor, Dylan, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this 100 days of code, and I'm going to send it just to you, because I don't want the pressure of the internet of Twitter. So I'm going to post it on my
Yeah.
own personal blog, and I'm going to send it to you. And I'm like, oh, sure, no problem. So I was saying, so one time I didn't actually do anything coding related, and I was so scared. And then I sent him a message. I'm like, I actually didn't write any code today. And it's like, no problem. Just
No
he sent me this
problem.
article. The article was about no zero day. So actually, just write and say I did not write code. This is the fifth day of my 100 days of code. I did not write code. You've done something like that. So I
Yeah.
mean that made me feel good, and I think I was able to get to the highest that I spent about, I think I did like 40 something days out of the 100 days. That's the highest I've ever gone. So but I think it was that encouragement of, even if you don't manage with anything, with writing a code, just write your blog and say today I didn't manage with anything, but here is my blog post. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the process, even though eventually I had to stop because of other engagements.
Of course. Yeah.
Then now it even now brings me to that the question you asked on this thing of coding as an identity. Um, I think code programming can be a very a passionate field to be in the sense that it's easy for it to become a person's identity. I'm not sure why, but I remember trying to read it. I started reading the book. I think hackers, the spirit of hackerism, something like that. But the whole
Hmm.
thing book was trying to talk about the whole hacker culture of, oh, the nerd that's always on their computer and all of that. And I found it quite interesting that actually these people, many of the people, well, they didn't necessarily start the internet per se, but they started this whole open source movement, not
Hmm.
Richard Stallman specifically, but like many people who started the open source movement. Many of them, like coding was life for them, and I mean it was very personal for them, and I think it's still
Personal.
very personal for many people in open source and free. I think there's a name, free and open source software. I think that's first. I think that's the appropriate name that is
Yeah.
called. Yeah, but then I don't think it necessarily needs to form my identity. I don't think, even though it's something I've been struggling with, and I've been trying to really come to terms with the fact that yes, I'm in tech, I program, but there are also other parts of my life that I also want to flourish, and that don't necessarily
Hmm.
need to be informed by my programming career, in the sense that you know how people have a life philosophy which reflects in everything. So it's possible that my programming could be the source of my life philosophy, and I didn't want that because I didn't think that was the best thing for me.
Yeah.
I think I'm going a bit too deep.
Yeah, no, I love this. I love deep conversations. So let's take it
Yeah, so
there.
yes. So I didn't think, because also the whole thing of how public opinion changes all the time. And of course, programming, you're in the open, especially when you're in open source, or you're generally in the, or in Twitter with the whole tech community. I don't think personally that it's the best source of a person's life philosophy. So that's why I just began to think of ways to manage all of that. And well, personally for me, how I have been trying is to also integrate this thing of my own faith, my faith I profess,
Yes.
and then, but at the same time, still trying to make sure that, in fact, precisely because of the life philosophy I have chosen, I have to now make sure that my programming career is also like flourishing.
Hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, so I think that's really it. So in summary, I don't think a person's career should become the person's identity, because again, tomorrow the career could change. For some reason I could decide to become, I don't know what, a mechanic. I don't plan to be a mechanic, but that could happen. Yeah,
If
but
it is your
at the same
decision,
time,
yeah.
yeah, but at the same time, I think it's not bad to still be passionate about
Yes.
programming. At least I think I am. I'm very interested in tech and all of that, but I think should still be some balance. Yeah. So
Yeah, I feel like I completely agree with you. And I think it all goes back to like fulfillment. What makes a person feel fulfilled? Everybody has a different story and a different idea of their vision. And it's more than okay if coding is your identity, because you take it serious, and that's perfectly okay. If you feel like it's coding is just a tool or a skill or something that's fun to do or fun to have, that is okay as well. I feel like for me, like, the longer I do this, I like to think about the impact, like, what am I, like, I know it's one thing to code. How is my code impacting? How can I make it impactful?
Yeah.
And it kind of goes back to what you're saying about your faith, integrating it with your faith. And I know you, like you said with earlier, with building community and having your community. So
Mhm.
that's the way I see it.
Yeah. So I wanted to also add this thing you
Of
mentioned
course.
on how your coding should, like, the impact your coding makes. I think it's also something really important, and it's something I'm trying to learn as well. The thing of not just writing code. I mean, of course, have fun, but this thing of like looking for problems that are relevant to you. So I was watching a video before our call. I haven't finished the video, and in this video, so this guy built like a React boilerplate thing, and he works at GitHub now. And he was just talking about how the reason why he built it was because he had a problem. He needed a boilerplate, and he built it and decided to make it open source just in case anybody needed it. I mean, I feel that's so selfless because,
Yes, that
excuse me, you're
is.
not doing it. You're not writing code because you want to become popular. I mean, everybody do what you want, but I mean, you're trying to solve an actual problem that you have. Even if you're not, yeah, you of course you can't solve all life problems, but you have this
Hmm.
problem of the need for a boilerplate, and you just try to fix it instead of complaining that, oh, people are lazy, nobody wants to build a boilerplate, but you
Yeah.
actually go and build it. And then I remember also, this guy Prosper Otemuyiwa, he's a Nigerian developer, and he was talking about something he did. I think he fixed, like, there's this gateway we have, Paystack, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, he tried to find a way to fix an integration of Paystack with Laravel. I don't remember the story, but
Yeah.
I just found it really fascinating that people who somehow end up becoming maybe popular or end up being really successful in their career, it's not really because, I mean, all that just happens as a by it's just a by product. I don't know if that's the right word, but
Hmm.
it's just by
Byproduct.
the
Yeah.
side. Yeah, it's just by the side. They are genuinely trying to solve actual problems that they have. And I think that's something really interesting, that you're not just writing code, just, I mean, having fun, of course. Yeah, because
Hmm.
precisely because they are enjoying what they're doing, they're able to do this amazing thing. So yeah, I think that's one thing I personally am trying to learn, of like actually solving my own personal problems, and if possible other people's problems.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like what you were saying earlier about like the philosophy. Um, it's almost like there, and depending on your needs and your wants, but that there has to be some type of philosophy behind coding, and that philosophy is being the change.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it doesn't have to be, but like, I feel like that is when you start to see things move, is when you, especially in tech, something that is huge, and it all comes from us and our imagination and our ability to problem solve. It's about deciding to be the change and provide the answer, provide the solution, instead of just sitting and complaining. and
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
something like you are great at. You are great at being the change, and I even have that in my notes that you know
Oh
i
my.
can i can read it off. I made notes on Sophie. Okay, Sophie is a self-starter. She is a leader. She is a teacher. She is an active learner. She's been doing this for a while. She's not new to this. And she knows how to be the change, and I feel like that is in completely important when it comes to being in the tech industry and learning how to code. Is like, how can you be the solution?
Mhm.
So that's my rant.
Yeah, I actually agreed. I think, well, even though I'm blushing, but anyway, yeah, but yeah, the thing of trying to be the change and one, not even necessarily in a very big, huge way of, oh, I want to solve all the problems in the world, but like really, really tiny things like, I don't know, this website isn't working, make a pull request, or maybe you find a code and then there's an error, just a very tiny pull request. Oh, I noticed that this button isn't working. I just fixed it. Very, very simple. Yeah, so I guess it's something everybody's trying to improve. Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, and I want to say this too, like when it comes to being the change, because going back to when we first met, you said that it was very easy to find community, and it kind of was easy for me to find community as well, like when it came to C sharp, but it wasn't as easy in terms of like Python and Java and JavaScript. Like it seemed like that was just such a huge community, and it took me like being intentional of how to find, especially on Twitter, how to find a C sharp community. And I what I like is that you created the group chat, our group chat in WhatsApp, and you made that even easier for me to find my community, to find other C sharp developers, whether regardless if they're like backend or if they're working on front end or Blazor. I think that that is important when starting something new, is also like learning, but also being the change. So what do you think about that? What and also what made you decide, I know I'm talking a lot. What made you decide to even make that WhatsApp group chat?
Oh, okay. So now there are actually two WhatsApp group chats that we are in together, right? So the first
Yes.
one, it was actually my tutor from the C sharp training that created that one, the next 1 million.net group, and I guess, I mean, I guess he created it for people to, other .NET developers to connect, because there's also this whole idea of .NET developers are old people who don't know how to have fun and all and all. But
Yeah,
I
especially
mean,
C sharp.
yeah, for some reason, I guess it also, and then also JavaScript and Python and all these other languages, they have a very vibrant community. It can be difficult to get, I mean, depending on your temperament, it can be difficult to find your foot, or so even though because they are vibrant, it's easy to get answers to questions. But with C sharp, in the beginning, I guess it was just difficult for people who had problems with their code to find people. But of course, now Microsoft is opening up and being more open source and all and more. I mean, we're finding more C sharp developers. But the second group chat, the reason why I created it was because after the C sharp training I did, I mean, I had made these very amazing friends during the training. We just stayed in touch. In fact, well, I think one of them on the in the group chat, one of the guys is a designer, but we just stayed in touch. I think he also started learning C sharp also, but we all stayed in touch. So I was just thinking, why? I mean, we can just form like a very tiny community within ourselves and just
Yeah.
start to just to stay in touch. So
Yeah.
we,
Yeah.
and also because we started our journey at the same time, so there's no pressure of, oh, I'm going to ask a stupid question, I'm going to sound silly. So we just created the group chat and started talking. So but then at a point we're like, okay, you know what, we could add other people who, because Gabriel, who you do the book study with, he
Yep.
used to mentor, other people. He started mentoring other people, and then he's like, oh, I've mentored these people, I could add them to the group chat. And oh, sure, sure. So just like that, the group chat started growing, growing, growing. So yeah, so that was really it. So it was just very organic. Like, oh, we just want to stay in
Organic.
touch and be able to. And then if you have questions, if you have content, and in fact, sometimes it's not even just coding. Sometimes it's just like, oh, I feel like I don't know anything. I don't understand C sharp. So we just talk about those kind of things. So yeah, yeah, so I guess that was really it. So just a thing of trying to stay in touch with my peers, and if
Yeah.
I had problems and I didn't want to seem silly, I could ask, and also they could ask me, and just for us to all grow together. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think that was really it.
No, that's awesome. And it is a great amazing group chat. Like I said, it has been very influential and impactful on my coding journey, and I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, what does your journey look like right now? Like, where do you feel like you find yourself going? I know you said that you still see yourself as a back end developer. What do you see like as a part of your vision? I don't know if that's too personal of a question, and it's
It's
kind of
not.
like it can, yeah.
No, no. It's very nice. It's very good question. So I mean, even though now I still am trying to figure out how to go and get into biotech. So I'm volunteering with this NGO GBR, Global Biotech Revolution. So I just help with their IT related things, and I mean in this NGO there are like so many people who are in biotech. Some are doing like really crazy stuff with PhDs and all. Many of them are have PhDs, and but then I still don't have a clear picture of how I would come in because many of them are academia, some are in industry, but not in the way I think I want to work in biotech. But that aside, that one is I'm taking it bit by bit. So now I'm concentrating on my um, the computer science aspect of things. Well, presently, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to understand data structures and algorithms because I think it's the fundamental part of programming that would help me
Mhm.
to grow and also to get a job because I know that many standard tech companies require you to understand or at least know data structures and algorithms because you would actually use it while working there, and then also you need it for your interview. So presently, that's my focus: understanding data structures and algorithms. So I'm there's also I know group learning helps me a lot. So even though I'm reading Clean Code, I don't remember the
Mhm.
name of the author, but I'm reading Clean Code. I'm also in this like an academy. It's also a free training where they're teaching about data structures and algorithms. So of course everybody has to do their own self study and do some hacker rank exercises. So hopefully by the time I'm done or while I'm doing it, I also get a job. So right now my focus is to get a job. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I didn't even mention earlier. So I sort of took a break from programming for some time because
Mhm.
I started doing an IT support job, which I enjoyed. I mean, I also because I the whole thing of trying to understand the computer, I was also always scared of like opening my computer when something goes bad or trying to debug what is wrong with the laptop. So, but then doing the IT support role helped me to be more comfortable with like understanding that a computer is really just metals and electricity and ones and zeros. So yeah, so I mean now I'm done with that. I'm trying to now transition back into programming. So yeah, that's what I'm doing in data structure and algorithm classes. So yeah, so my short term vision is to be a solid backend engineer. Well, hopefully with C sharp, but I I sometimes think that maybe I don't need to hold on to C sharp too much so that I can explore other languages. So which I have been doing bit by bit. So I applied to Outreachy. Because also I find the whole open source thing as really exciting. I really like
Mhm.
the whole open source movement. Um, I like the even the community in the open source. I like how open and transparent they are. So I tried out applying to Outreachy, which is like an open source thing. So when I applied to Outreachy, there was no C sharp project there. I hope next time there would be C sharp projects. But I tried applying to Outreachy. So because there was no C sharp project, I started learning Golang and C. So
Yeah.
but still try to focus on the back end. So yeah, that's it. I think that's really it. So just I just want to get into backend engineering and hopefully I don't know. I don't know where I'll go from there, but my focus now is
Yeah.
backend engineering.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
I know you're going to meet your goals. I know you're going to succeed and excel and be absolutely innovative. I am so excited to see your
Yeah.
ever evolving vision come to life. I'm so
Yeah.
excited for that.
Yeah. Me
Um,
too.
I'm just checking the time. This has just flew by. Like we're
Yeah.
already approaching our hour. This has been such an amazing conversation. I love this. I'm having so much fun. I think it's time that we just take a look at our comments in the chat.
Yay.
Yeah, we have a lot of people who tuned in, a lot of people who love Sophie and who
Oh,
are
okay.
amazing supporters. So we have Gabriel. He says, "Hey, ladies, good job. Thank you so much, Gabriel. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you are having a great day today."
Yeah.
Aw,
Oh.
the heart. Thank you, Angela. I think the second language you encounter is the most difficult, perhaps. Oh, and this is like kind of earlier on in our conversation. Would you agree with that? Like, I've just stuck with C sharp, HTML, CSS, like all of that. So I feel like you have a better understanding of that.
Well, I guess I don't know if because actually I think C Sharp is my second official language because I started with PHP and all of that. But then if I since C Sharp was the first one I really like actually learned. I don't know if I say learned properly. I would say it's my official first language. So, but when I started trying to understand C again, like I went back to C, it actually made sense. It actually
Okay.
made sense. And also
Okay.
Golang, I found Golang so easy. So probably the difference would be if you move from object oriented to like functional programming, like some languages that employ those things. So yeah, but even with I don't know if it's React, and I think React has this thing of both object oriented and functional. I'm not sure if it's React, but I remember one time I had to do something with it, and I actually found it exciting that I could use these
Okay.
two ways of writing code in one framework. So I don't really agree, or maybe it's true for some
That's
people, but
okay.
yeah, well, I don't really agree with that. And also, my journey has been very all over the place. So I mean, I can't really pinpoint what was my first language. I learned so many.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
blur at a certain point.
yeah,
Okay, yeah, like they go on to say the first language one learns well becomes the mental model. The second language you encounter challenges the comfortable mental model. Wow.
yeah.
Wow. I could
True.
see that. I could totally
Yeah,
see that.
yeah,
Um, they say, in my honest opinion, I used to do front end, but I am in back end now because the knowledge required for front end is so big, I find.
yeah.
Wow.
So true. So true. I think backend can be very I don't know, so many things to learn. But I think it's the same for front end. The deeper you go, it's just that with front end, I think it's easier to show your finished product without having to learn too much. But with back end, well, I think they're almost the same thing. I think they're almost the same thing. I think they both have their problems. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I guess I can relate with what this person is saying. I understand.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Let's see, free open source software. I think
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
in, yeah, that
yeah.
was in reference to
What I
Boss
was
for
saying.
short.
Yes, yes. I was watching a video of free here. Yeah, I was watching a video of this guy Richard Stallman, and he was talking about. I think he was the one who really started the whole movement, and he was talking about the whole thing of what was he saying? We are just talking about the whole idea behind it. Fascinating. I mean, everybody. There are also extremes of the whole thing, but I like the fundamental idea. I also think
Mhm.
that, but I think that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I like the open source. Um, I like the whole transparency and how you can I feel like open source is a bit more comfortable on as compared to enterprise where you're building for you're building for a client, so your mistakes are more like mistakes you make are more have higher consequences. But in open source,
High
you do
risk.
your yeah. But in open source, you make a pull request, and then somebody reviews it. I mean, there's an entire process. Maybe it's like that in enterprise, but I don't know. I just like how things are there. Things feel a bit more relaxed.
Relax, relaxed. I That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. And yeah, I'll have to have you on again so we can have a deeper conversation about open source because I feel like I have a lot to learn when it comes to open source.
Everybody.
Yep. He says, ha ha ha, made notes on Sophie. Flush away, Sophie. Yep. Gabriel's right. Flush away because I said
I'm
it. I made
blushing.
notes.
Someone was telling me that black people can't blush. Is that true?
I don't agree. I blush all the time. Well, I
Oh,
am wearing
hi,
blush,
Augustine. Hi.
so.
Yeah,
Augustine says,
Augustine.
"Way to
Augustine
go,
was is the
Sophie."
founder of Girl League, the organization I worked with at the point. Yeah, so I didn't even talk about Girl Lead. So we started it in
Yeah.
like 2015. Oh, I don't remember if it was 2015 or 2016. But like friends, we just came together. Someone told me, "Oh, I have this friend who has this thing coming up. Do you want to join?" I think it was Linda Amen that told me. Anyway, I met up with Augustine and my friend Steve and many of my friends, and then we're like, "Oh, you know what?" I think Augustine was like, he knows someone. I think his sister also who would love to go into tech and they didn't have an
Mhm.
idea. I don't remember the story exactly, but it was really the thing of helping women in Benin, where I schooled in Edo States, to get into tech. Not just tech, like even business development, graphic design. So even though I had no idea, the only thing I knew to an extent was digital marketing. But I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
you know what? I would love to do this because also women rule.
Yep.
So I just wanted
Absolutely.
to, yes, I just wanted to help out. So yeah, so it was the whole brand management thing I did because I was really passionate about the whole thing, and people even thought I was the founder, but Augustine is the founder. So yeah, so I spent a lot of time at Geraldine, help out as much as I could, even though I'm no longer with them. But
Mhm.
it was great. It was a great time. Yeah.
Yeah. And like that's why I said like you are not new to this, you are true to this. So you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
hi, Augustine. It's so amazing to see you tune in because I was so curious when I was doing my research on Sophie. I was so curious about Girl Lead and her time as brand manager. So, thank you so much for tuning in.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it looks like we are at our time. Uh, Thank you so much, Sophie. Do you have any last words that you would want the internet to know, the public to know, anything that you're working on, any place that they can find you at, and I can type it in.
Sure. Okay. Where do I start from? What do I want? Okay, let me start from where they could connect with me. Maybe I'm most active on my Twitter.
In your
So
Twitter.
it's my Twitter username is so long. It's my full name. Yes,
Yeah.
at Obomighie Sophie. Um.
Don't worry, I'm
So,
going to
but
put
then
from Twitter.
some. Oh, great. So yeah. So you could connect with me on Twitter. I don't know if you would like to say if anybody would like to send any email, but I think Twitter is fine. Twitter is good. But if you want to send me an email, Sophie Obomighie at outlook.com is fine. My GitHub, I could share the link as well. What's happening? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think it's
Can
because
you hear
I'm using the internet. Is lagging a bit, but
Hi,
I got
Lon.
don't.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you
Oh,
hear
you're
me?
breaking out.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me now?
Uh, yes, 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 I can. Yay. Yes.
Okay,
I,
awesome.
I
Awesome.
think the
Okay.
internet is
Yeah, it's because
just unstable.
I think it was me because I was on Twitter and with streaming it can be a lot on your machine. So I have included your
Can you hear me?
um yes. I have
Yay.
included your Twitter in the chat.
Yeah, so okay, yeah, so just my
Let's see.
GitHub, and then what do I want the world to know? Just be happy, have fun. Oh, okay.
Okay. So yes, I
Okay.
have your Twitter handle in the
Mm.
stream. Oh, we're losing her. Let's see. Let's see if I can get her back. She was just killing it with her last words of the stream. Oh, dang it. Let's see if we can get her back for a second. Oh, okay. I think I see her. I think she's here.
Hi.
Okay. We're good.
Yes,
We're
I
good.
have
Can you hear me?
the internet.
You
Yes,
can
I
just talk away.
can. I'll just put off my video. Probably that will help. Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. Okay. You can hear me okay? Oh no. You're just wrapping up. Let's see. I'm happy that we have her Twitter handle in the chat. And if you want to reach out to her, you have the Twitter. And yeah, she's doing amazing things. Let's see if I can reach out to her, chat her, and what. Oh, hold up. Because I don't want to end it. I don't want to end it just yet. She was saying amazing.
Uh,
Let's see. Okay, are you
Internet
there?
is no. Let me try.
Yeah, she was on an amazing point. Yeah, I can try to send her chat.
Hola, hola, hola. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Sophie, you can just finish your last words.
No. Yay. Okay. Great. Okay. Oh, maybe I should life calmly take a break. Oh,
But yeah, we will just end this live. Again, thank you so much, Sophie. I appreciate everything about you. You are an influence on my coding journey and public speaking as well. Again, if you want to reach out to her, she is on Twitter and her Twitter handle is in the chat. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate you for tuning in and commenting. And this has been amazing for me. So, everyone, have a wonderful, great day.